Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach. And today I'm talking about we broke up but we still love each other. So this was a question from a viewer and they basically wanted to know, okay, we broke up but we kind of left it on good terms. He went into the reason why she wasn't happy was because he had anxiety issues and it was keeping them from seeing her family and things like this, and they left it off on a good note. They both said I love you to each other. So the reality is, unfortunately, is that women don't break up with men who they're in love with. You know? So if she obviously cares about you. I'm not saying that she doesn't care about you. But if she wants to be with you, then she would be with you. Clearly, these anxiety issues or whatever else may be going on is preventing her from wanting to stay with you, right? And at this point, she just doesn't love you enough to stay with you, okay? Which is sad, right? So you've got a couple of options here. You've either got to work through these anxiety issues. That's the thing that's tearing you guys apart. And try and change that, get some help with that. Obviously, for anxiety, you'll probably need to speak to a counselor or some kind of therapist to help you get through this anxiety, That's the best kind of option for you, I think. You may want to go and speak to a doctor about it as well, obviously. I'm not a doctor. I can't really help with anxiety issues. I have anxiety myself sometimes. So, it's an issue that I also have and that I also am trying to work through as well. But the point is that, if you want her back, then you have to work on this thing, because it seems like this was the nail in the coffin, shall we say. And the reason why she broke up with you. At least that's what it seems like from what you've said to me. Okay, but you've got to want to change. That's the point, right? You've got to want to change, because a lot of people, they have anxiety, they have issues, mental health issues, or other kinds of issues. And sometimes people are just not willing to change, not willing to get better. And I've seen this a lot with different people that have had mental health issues. They use it as sort of like as a shield. They use it as a shield, and they also use it as like a part of their identity. Like they're a person, oh, I have anxiety and this is the reason why I can't do this, I can't do that. And sometimes they use that as an excuse to not get better. Now, people that have anxiety that want to get better, they're a different kettle of fish, because they're actually really trying to, get over this, right? They actually really do want to get better and they want to get rid of that anxiety. Okay, so you got to figure out which one are you. Are you someone who actually kind of likes the benefits of having anxiety because it's like a get out of jail free card for certain situations, right? Perhaps because it seemed like from your comment, like, oh, this was preventing her from seeing her family because you have social anxiety, so you don't like to go and see the family, right? So perhaps you actually like that benefit. Perhaps you like the fact that you can't hang out with her family or whatever. Like, I don't know, right? Or are you someone that does actually want to get better and wants to change? Because if you're someone that wants to get better and wants to change, then I recommend that you go and, get that counseling, go and get that therapy, go and speak to your doctor about it so you can start getting better, so you can get your relationship back, okay? Or it could be the case, I'm not 100% sure, but it could be the case that she's just using this as an excuse to break up with you because she kind of wants to break up with you anyway, right? Because sometimes instead of being honest and saying, I'm just not in love with you anymore, a lot of people bring up excuses as to why they don't want to be with you anymore, right? Like, oh, I don't want to be with you because, of your anxiety, or I don't want to be with you anymore because, you don't wash the dishes, or you're a slob, or you're not earning enough money, or whatever it may be. They instead of just saying, look, I'm just not in love with you anymore, they bring up excuses to break up with you. Sometimes that can happen, okay? But if she's genuine and the reason why she broke up with you was definitely because, of these issues that you have, and, she wants you to work on those things to get better so you can have a better relationship, then if you solve those issues and you start working on those issues, then she'll take you back, right? And that's the test, right? That's how you know if, she does actually want to be with you, or if she's just using this anxiety thing as an excuse, So you start resolving your problems. I'm not saying that you can resolve them really fast, because you might not be able to, but you can at least try to start working towards that. And then say to her, look, I've made a couple of changes. I'm starting to get a little bit better. That, you know, and I think, you know, I'm able to get past this now, and I think we can work through this, and I think we can be together now. And if she says that's great, then you'll know that the only reason she broke up with you was because of this anxiety thing, right? And that's why you needed that time to be separate. So if you do get back together, then what I would recommend that you do is, you know, start, you know, being who you were basically at the beginning of the relationship. So if you remember back to when you were courting this woman, you know, start doing more things like how you did back then, because that will rekindle things. And that's the key, actually. That's one of the keys. There's actually 2 keys to keeping a relationship healthy a long term. But one of the keys is to always date and court your partner and act and behave in the way that you did, like you did at the beginning of the relationship. Right, that's how you keep the magic alive long term. That's why often you see couples feeling nostalgic for those first few months that they were together, because, you know, those were when you were paying more attention to each other. And then when you get together and you've been with each other for a while, you stop doing the things that you did at the beginning. And because you stop doing the things you did at the beginning, you know, people will slowly start to fall out of love with each other. And they sort of now suddenly become more like roommates or best friends rather than friends and companions, but romantic lovers, right? And that's what you want. You want to get back to that romance. So the way you get back to the romance is you start treating and courting her like how you did at the very beginning. And that will rekindle that romance and that passion, right? And that'll help mend things, okay? Another thing that you need to understand is that one of the reasons why sometimes women break up with guys or with whoever they're with is because there's a miscommunication issue, right? So I highly recommend that you read a book called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. It's in my recommended 10 books, which you'll be able to find in the description of this video. But Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus will help you understand how to communicate with the opposite sex. And it's a good book actually for both men and women, because it goes into both scenarios, right? How to communicate with men, how to communicate with women, right? So it's a really good all-rounder for understanding your own brain and for the opposite sex's brain, okay? So that will really help with that. So getting your communication, knowing how to talk to your partner, and also making sure that you continue to date your partner, right? And treat them like how you did at the beginning, right? Because if you remember, so there's this book called The 5 Love Languages, right? And, you know, I can't remember exactly all of them, but, you know, some people's love language is physical touch. Another person's maybe words of affirmation, like being said, I love you all the time. We all have our own different love language, which, you know, language we respond to most. But when you start dating someone, at the beginning, you're doing all of the love languages. You're telling them how much you like them. You're touching them all the time. I think another one is gift giving. You know, you make little things for each other. That's where you got to get back to. You got to get back to the place where you're doing all of the love languages, right? And that's what you do at the beginning, because when you're really into someone, you're touching them all the time. You want to be around them all the time. You want to speak to them all the time. You know, these are the things that you do when you're in love at the very beginning. So that's where you're going to get back to. You've got to get back to that point. Right? And also, if you get a handle on how to communicate with the opposite sex as well, and you get a handle on how to communicate better with her, that will also help really as well. If, of course, she is actually serious about getting back with you, and she's not just using this anxiety thing as an excuse to break up with you. And the reason I'm saying that is because I am a little suspicious, because from what I've seen, from what I've learned, from my own experiences, women don't break up with men that they're in love with. Okay? So even though you ended it on a good note and you're both amicable, which is great, it's great. Obviously, it's better to be, you know, trying to rekindle something with someone where things ended amicably rather than it was all fiery and a lot of arguments. So you're in a good position, but you need to obviously work on these anxiety things and see if call her bluff. See if that actually was the reason she broke up with you. Because if you get better with this anxiety thing, she has no excuse to not be with you anymore, right? So you'll find out how she actually feels about you. And either she will be like, yes, it's great, I would love to be back with you. Or she will decline and she'll come up with another excuse as to not to be with you, okay? So thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to get in touch with me personally and you'd like coaching with me, then please go to www.christineloveridge.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.